Today, Donald Trump signed one of the most aggressive executive orders targeting homelessness in modern US history. And no, of course, it's not about building housing. Of course, it's not about making treatment more accessible for those who need it. And it is definitely not about compassion because this is a compassionless regime. Instead, this executive order is about sweeping the problem under the rug, or in this case, sweeping people up off the streets and into handcuffs or hospital beds. It's called Ending Crime and Disorder on America's Streets, which is extremely ironic because the only disorder in this might be the policy itself, because this marks a dramatic shift in federal homelessness policy from compassion to just straight up criminalization. Let me break down what it actually does, who it impacts, because this is a disaster in the making. Let me begin with the biggest red flag, which is forced psychiatric commitment. This order brings back civil commitment, which means if you are experiencing homelessness, mentally ill, or dealing with addiction, and someone decides that you are a public risk, you can be institutionalized against your will. And we're not just talking about people committing crimes. This includes individuals who are just living on the streets because they have nowhere to go. Trump is essentially trying to reboot the era of locking people away for being inconvenient to look at, but lies and says it's all about public safety. And if you think I'm exaggerating or being hyperbolic, this same order encourages the Attorney General to challenge court rulings that made forced institutionalization harder in the first place, because apparently the solution to homelessness is to bring back psychiatric warehousing. This is simply a dangerous throwback to the days when people, especially poor, Black, or disabled individuals, were locked away indefinitely without any real due process. And of course, money talks and plays in this, and the cities that criminalize homelessness are about to get a whole lot richer. This order directs federal agencies to reward cities that ban public camping. So let me translate that. If your city cracks down on the symptoms of poverty without addressing the causes, congrats, baby, you've earned yourself a bigger slice of the federal pie. And cities that want to offer housing first programs, too bad. This new ruling says if you don't have any kind of punishment, then you don't get any funding. It's less about helping those experiencing homelessness and more play ball with our crackdown, or you are on your own. Of course, it's about to get way more dystopian. This order also demands that federally funded homeless service providers start collecting and sharing personal data, including health info, with law enforcement, because apparently, if you need a hot meal and a warm bed, the government needs to know your blood pressure. They need to know your criminal record and who you voted for. I'm just kidding, not the last one, but not yet at least. Oh, and housing programs now have to separate people based on their criminal status, which means that people who are labeled as undesirable might be shuffled out of housing altogether and not into safer spaces. It's all being framed as accountability, but if you look closer, it's surveillance in a hoodie, sneaking into social services and calling it reform. But let's step back for a second. Homelessness in America is at an all-time high. Over 771,000 people were unhoused on a single night last year. And that's not because they chose a drug-fueled lifestyle, as some politicians love to suggest. It's because rent has exploded, wages haven't kept up, mental health is underfunded, and affordable housing is practically extinct in half of the country. But instead of fixing any of that, this executive order says, let's make it someone else's problem. And while we're at it, let's punish them for not having a home. It's not a housing policy, it's a visibility policy. It doesn't want to end homelessness, it wants to make homeless people disappear. Civil rights groups like the ACLU are already condemning the move, saying it's an attack on the poor, the disabled, and the mentally ill. And history backs them up, because the last time America leaned this hard on forced institutionalization, it did not end well. This isn't about policy outcomes. It's about political optics, right? It's about looking tough on crime. It's the same old formula. Blame the vulnerable, reward the police, and leave the root causes untouched. This approach doesn't fix the housing crisis. It doesn't create mental health access. It doesn't give people a path forward. What it does do is reward cities for using the police, prisons, and psych wards to manage a humanitarian crisis.